I totally understand how this can be controversial. When I painted this, I went through a religious phase, a phase in which I had to find myself spiritually. I wanted to see what's good, what's bad, what does it actually mean to be Christian, to be Catholic, or to just be spiritual and believe in God, which I currently do. I do believe there's God, but God could also be intuition and could also be destiny. How you cannot separate all of these entities from one another because it's the same thing. It's the universe, it's attraction, and it's yourself at the end. That's what I believe in. In different religions, we're taught that good and bad are separable, like are one thing or another. But like, what if the holiness and the sin are actually the same thing, can actually come together into one? That's what I wanted to represent here. That salvation and temptation have the same meaning at the end. We depict the idea of Jesus being the devil at the same time. It's very contradictory to our own terms and our own interpretation of religion, because in my reality, and yours too, there's a lot of people that should be doing good but are doing totally the opposite. And there's like a debate between what's good and bad. What's the purpose of being in power? What's the purpose of living in this world where there's a lot of politicians, rich people, which are not politicians, but it's worse than being a politician, doing so many bad things to the world, and they are supposed to be the people in power, the people that should guide the world. They're actually tearing down the world. They're supposed to be good, but they're bad. So this also comes to the next point of goodness only exists when evil also exists. So we're talking about the same thing as in meaning. It's the same thing. Bad is as powerful as good, but good is overlooked because evilness is more impactful. The theme of religion is always going to be going on here, and I want to emphasize that I have nothing against the Catholic and Christian religion. This is a thing that just came to my mind. I was thinking about Jesus. I wanted to do like a sacred image. It could be either Mary, Jesus, whoever, but like I wanted to do a sacred imagery, like a picture, a sacred picture, saint probably, but I wanted to make it mine. I wanted to put it horns. I wanted to be like a little bit provocative. Then we'll go to the next point, which is also talking about Jesus. How Jesus, it's supposed to be a representation of humanity, right? How he dies for our sins, but it also represents the contradictions that there is in human society. For example, Jesus was good, but it right now is used as an excuse in order to do bad. I wanted to portray that. The horns grew. He was not born with it. But what if he was born with it? Like, there's always going to be bad in the good. It's impossible to say that someone is completely good because too much goodness ends up being bad. So you cannot be entirely made of goodness or evilness. And this picture talks about that contradiction, how we create gods and devils within ourselves, within our own society, how we see people as good and bad. But I wanted to make that in a whole thing, in a whole image. And I also want to talk about how sacred it ends up being, draw something like this, to paint something like this. Of course, I made a sketch first and then I painted it, but it became something so like deep and meaningful to me because it impacted me. And it not only impacted me, it impacted a lot of people. It was like, whoa, you did that. But I want to talk about that. How sacred is it to do something so evil? Is it a sin to put horns on Jesus? Is it a sin to depict this, to actually project evilness in such a sacred figure? When I became really like spiritual, it was because I have a constant fear of not getting what I want. I know this sounds silly, but it's a constant fear of not getting what I want, plus a fear of dying. So this sounds like it could cause me a lot of problems, and I've always thought about religion as a way to escape from that. I know it doesn't have anything to do with like personal like goals and what you want to become or where you want to go in life, it has a lot to do with working on yourself and working towards those goals. But going or seeking for validation into religion, like saying like the universe put you here, you actually have your destiny in your own hands. And I've always had this crisis because I feel like opportunities are not being presented to me. But why do they have to present opportunities to me? Like, I have to make my own opportunities with my own work and effort. I actually still have this fear. And I don't know why, when I think about the future and I think about these helpless ideas, I think about religion and Jesus comes to mind. I'm not religious though. I'm spiritual. I believe in the universe, and if you put effort on it, it's going to work out, as I told you in the beginning. But right now and always, there's always going to be an image of Jesus that comes to my head. I think this is related because when I was a kid, I was Catholic, and I was pretty much in that environment, going to church every Sunday and praying every day. So when I went to bed, I would think about Jesus, and it would be like as if he was my friend, and I had to tell him my day and tell him how I want things to go out. Like, he was my best friend before going to sleep. And I have the same routine, but with the universe and energy. Is not the same Jesus, it's energy. I think that's why I wanted to put horns in Jesus, because it's not about Jesus, it's about something else. And that goes completely against like the religion, the Catholic and Christian religion of Jesus being your best friend. Is not Jesus, is actually yourself and the energy that you put into the universe. So that's what I wanted to represent, also related to religious and related to the projection that I have of my inner self. This goes back to my obsession with what I fear. I fear not getting what I want, and I also fear death. And this represents that. This represents my relationship with the universe, but especially about death, because I've always been said like you need to put good things out there in the world and you should follow these guidelines in order for you to go to heaven when you die. I'm absolutely terrified of what's going to happen to me when I die, and I've always been obsessed with the idea that my consciousness is going to remain, but I don't know, as maybe black matter or something like that. But this idea of me dying and of my soul dying is something that moves me to the point of turning into religion as an answer, but I'm not religious. Like, it's always going to be that conflict. Like, how do I solve this problem? And the only solution that comes to my mind is religion, but at the same time, I think about it like logically and it doesn't make sense. It never makes sense. Like, religion is not the answer for me, but I just want to say how different people can perceive death and can perceive life and the meaning, and overall like how you have to follow along in order to get what you want. At the end of the day, it's about getting what you want. But at the same time, I also want to make the point that obsession guided me to creation. Okay, my obsession for the fears that I have, not getting what I want, my obsession for men, for love, all of these obsessive things that are really bad seen from a religious point, for me, it's a blessing. It's actually a blessing because I can create and do something like this. Just do something powerful for me and impactful for other people. Actually create a space for people in order to have a conversation about this, because this is seen as something really like unholy. And I know it's unholy, but like for me it's not, you know? For me it's something beautiful. And I also want to express how Jesus is the image of suffering. Like, Jesus with the crown of thorns is actually the image of suffering. And most of the time I think about suffering as something beautiful, as something that actually allows a space for beauty to evolve, to grow, and to take space. So maybe all beauty comes from suffering. And the horns in Jesus actually, I think, represents how there are these primal instincts in people, even if you think you are holy, you are like guided by goodness, there's always going to be things in your life that are going to make you very human. And humans make mistakes and have bad thoughts and have bad things that they want to do, you know? It's always, even if it's just a thought, most people just leave that as a thought, as an idea, as a vision, as a fantasy. So I believe that it shows like this. It actually shows how religion condemns some primal instincts that shouldn't be repressed because it could get worse. And I don't know, that's just a thought. And actually what I want to say with this idea is that in order to be human, you have to have good and bad in you. So Jesus has been depicted as a human that's very holy and everything is good about him. You're missing the point that in order to be human, you have to have something evil in you. That's why the horns. It represents the evil that Jesus probably had. And I don't know why I keep talking about Jesus as if he existed in the first place. I don't know if he existed. He probably did, but he probably was human, you know? He probably also did bad things. And yes, I want you to take this as the idea that I am rebellious towards religion. I am also trying to say something. I feel like I need to do extreme things in order to get a reaction from people because I like that in my art. I like creepy things. I like things that move me, that make me feel something, because I believe that I have a deep belief that art has to make you feel something. This represents me. I am a saint and I am a sinner at the same time. And probably you too. Like, nobody escapes from this idea. If you have good, you have bad in you. And you should embrace both sides. You're not going to be liked by everyone. You're not going to be loved by all the people that you love. And that's okay. Like, this shows a lot of contradictions and how there's a beautiful meaning in having contradictions and thoughts that just fight against each other. This painting is not at all about religion. It came to me as a religious thought, as a spiritual thought in my spiritual awakening, you could say. But like, it's not at all about religion. It's about me trying to reconcile the good and the bad within myself, the obsession and the suffering and the beautiful and the ugly, everything. Beautiful art sometimes is not something that just looks beautiful, but it's something that makes you feel something. For me, it's making you feel disturbed with what you see. For some people, this is very disturbing, especially in my culture, because my culture is very conservative and there's a lot of Catholic people in my city. And when I sent this like pictures to my friends, they were like, what the hell are you doing, Melissa? Like, that's just controversial. But like, it is, and I want that. I want you to feel disturbed. I want you to feel unsettling while you see this. A lot of my art is like that. I want to portray things that are unsettling. I don't know why. I like that art. It's just my art. That there's no explanation for that. I just like that. So let me know what you think about my art piece. I made this probably a year and a half ago, and I haven't talked about this. I like talking about my art because it brings me back to the time that I was painting. And if you're interested in buying it, DM me in my Instagram account, okay? I'll see what I can do, how I can send you, because I don't know how to send things anywhere. The thing is, I want you to tell me how this makes you feel. I want you to tell me if you find an extra meaning in this. And I hope you enjoyed this video about me trying to explain Jesus with horns. And see you on the next one. Bye.